Okay, we are being recorded, so behave yourselves. As per usual, if anyone needs to speak to anything which is under NDA, let me know and I can turn off the recording. So, right, let's make a start. Okay, you can see?
Yeah, all good.
All good? Right, okay. Thank you everyone for attending the UK WVD user group. This is our March meeting. I think we're up to this number 7 or 8 now, Kirk?
Yes, one of those.
Yeah. One of them two. Not sure which one, but one of those two. So first of all, we shall go through and do some introductions and tell you what's on the agenda tonight. So tonight, obviously, we've got the introduction, and then I'm going to do my usual what's new with Windows Virtual Desktop this month, and then we've got Bas van Kaam from Nerdio with us, who's going to take through us the hidden gems of Nerdio Manager for WVD. And then we've got Scott Seddon from Ezeep, and he's going to tell us all about printing using Ezeep on WVD. So some quite good session tonight, and then obviously at the end we'll have a Q&A session. As I always say, I like to make these as interactive as possible, so if you do have questions to ask, please come off mute and talk, or just pop them in the chat window. Questions that you ask don't have to be related to any content that we're producing tonight. So this is a community event. It's around people to get on, do Q&As. If you've got a problem you want to talk about, obviously WD related, let us know. Or anything else, please just ask away. So we'll do the introductions. My name's Neil McLaughlin. I've been around for a while. I'm currently work at Nerdio as their UK field CTO. It's my first week this week, so I'm on day number 4. So it's been quite a good week for me. I'm the co-founder of the WVD community, which is the sort of worldwide WVD community where we do the newsletters and events and stuff. I'm also the co-founder of this UK WVD user group. I'm a Microsoft MVP. You can find me on Twitter at virtualmag or WVD community, and also got my website virtualmag.uk and wvdcommunity.com. There's my LinkedIn page, and that's my email address if you want to reach out for anything specific. To you, Kurt.
Thanks very much. So, hi everyone, my name's Kurt Ryan. I am a principal technologist at NetApp for the day job, and outside of that, I am also working on my own startup. So that's called Busby, and that does cycling safety. So lots of hands-on doing stuff with that. I am a newly minted MVP in the realm of Microsoft Azure. So I got my notification on the 1st of this month. So very humbled to accept that and get involved even further in the community. I'm a co-founder of this UK community as well. And you can find me pretty much anywhere. Literally just type Kurt Ryan and I'll be on YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit, blog, Twitter. Or if you scan that code, that's my LinkedIn. So you can just fire up your app, point it at that code, and let's connect. So that's me.
Thanks, Kirk, and huge congrats on the MVP, mate. That's a huge achievement. I think most people aspire that towards in their career. So very much well done, and looking forward to interacting with the community.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't go through these a lot because most people have probably seen these before because we present these every time. Just a bit about the history of the W community and where we're at now. So we're still growing. We've got 13 user groups worldwide. We're approaching over 1,700 followers on Twitter. We're trying to hit that number, the magic number of 1,000 Slack channel members. So eventually we'll get there. But we seem to go up about, I don't know, 10 to 20 members a week. So hopefully next week we'll hit that number. We're at over 2,000 podcast downloads. We've kind of took a bit of a hit on the podcast the past couple of weeks because we've just been so busy. But hopefully they will remain soon. So if you do want to come on our podcast, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to have anybody on, whether you're a vendor or whether you're just a normal user of WVD. Please, if you want something to talk about, let me know and I'll be happy to have you on the podcast. We do a newsletter every Sunday where we sort of round up the news of the week of the Windows Virtual Desktop world. And as per usual, there's always a lot going on. So if you go over to wvdcommunity.com, you'll be able to check out the newsletter there and read what's going on in the world of Windows Virtual Desktop. So it's organised by myself, Stefan Degermanze from Holland, and Patrick Kohler from Germany. It's the three of us together who sort of work on that. So, and that's just a list of all the groups that we have at the moment worldwide. So it's my personal ambition to have a group in every single country of the world. I don't know how long it'll take me, maybe 20 years or so, I don't know, but we'll get there. And so what to expect from us? So we meet up once a month, first Thursday of each month. We will present on the latest Windows Virtual Desktop news and hot topics. Obviously, we're using Teams, as you know, because you're using it. We do make recordings of the slides available after the event. So for people who can't make it, because I know it's a bit of an awkward time because people have got kids and having dinner and stuff like that. So we like to record it and make it available to everybody. And hopefully sometime in Q1 2021, but I think that's more like Q2 or Q3 now, we will hold a physical event. I don't think that will be every month, probably once a quarter or maybe twice a year. I don't know. We'll come to that problem when we get there, but I think it'll be good to get one for everybody to meet up. Okay, so if you've got something to share, then let us know. This is a community event, so please speak up if you want to information. So we're off the slots for April. We've got one slot at the moment, which is by a vendor. I'd really like to have more slots which are more sort of real world based stuff, because those are the ones that people seem to enjoy the most. So if you've done a real world deployment and you've had some issues and you want to present on how you can fix those issues, or if you designed a really cool WVD environment, or if you've had a peculiar problem that you've solved and you want to tell people how you solved it, please reach out to me or Kirk, and we'll be love to have you on so you can talk about that. It doesn't have to be an hour, it doesn't have to be 45 minutes, it can be 10 minutes if you want. You can even be 5 minutes. I don't care. As long as we get the sort of message out there to people, I'm happy. So if you do want to present, just contact myself or Kirk on Twitter, email, LinkedIn, whatever, and we'll love to have you on. Also, if you're a bit nervous about presenting and you want to pre-record the session, that's perfectly fine as well. So it doesn't have to be live. Also, you don't have to be based in the UK. It can be anywhere in the world. So all we're about is sharing information. So if you have information to share, please do so.
Definitely. And just something to add to that as well is if you have a problem or a challenge or something, just I think those sort of topics as well are great for us to explore and present, and they just make really good presentations. So if there's anything you think of that's been stumping you or lessons learned or anything like that, then feel free to share it with us.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, these events, if you think about it, we don't have to present events, right? We can just have a 2-hour Q&A conversation, right? That's what the community stuff's all about. So yeah, if you want to get involved, please just let myself, Kirk, or know. Yep. Okay, and as I mentioned before, we've got a Slack channel where you can jump onto and again do the same thing, so you can have a chat. Any problems that you're having or just want to talk about something, jump on there, and there's always plenty of people on there. You get a response pretty much instantly or definitely within sort of an hour or two. So it's there's some really clever guys on there, so jump on there. It's a good resource to use for your WVD resources. So I'm going to go on to the what's new for WVD this month. Always a very busy section because things are changing so fast in the Windows Virtual Desktop world. So let's see what's happening this month. So we had a TechFest event last week. That was humongous success. They had over 2,000 registrants and there were about 1,200 people online at the maximum. So that's pretty impressive. That was their very first event as well. So it's probably the very first large sort of community event, I would say. So very well presented, very well done, and definitely be going again. So They've organised another one from the 18th of November in 2021. So I suggest you sign up for that. And again, if you want to present, it's a community event. So feel free to put a proposal forward if you've got something that you want to talk about and discuss. So yeah, it was Patrick Kohler and Simon Binder who did all the organisation, putting on that event. So massive shout out to those, and a massive well done to them. And hopefully we'll see that event go stronger and stronger and stronger as WVD evolves as well. And also we've got another Windows Virtual Desktop Masterclass coming along. That's coming along on the 19th of March, so not long ago now. So if you don't know what these are basically events run by Microsoft, where they're basically trying to teach you how to use Windows Virtual Desktop. So they're all mostly pre-recorded events, but they're really good sessions. It doesn't cost you anything. You just need to sign up, register, and view. So again, it's a chance to ask Q&A to the Microsoft staff as well. So worth doing if you've got half a day to spare, or you can just have it running in the background or something. Or even if you just sign up, I think you get like replays stuff. So it's all good. And we've also got a Microsoft Meets community event coming up. This was something which was started off by Christian Brinkoff last year. I attended I think I presented the second one. That was a really good experience. So definitely sign up for that. So this one is basically where Christian sort of brings in people from community and asks them to present on sort of hot topics. So again, a full day worth of learning. It's not going to cost you a penny. It's just going to cost you your time. So definitely sign up for those if you can do. And we've also got the State EUC survey by VDI Like Pro. If you've never filled one of these before, you really should do, especially because when you read the results, you'll know why. I've used it probably for the past 5 years just to see where we're going with the industry. It's a really good insights into what's out there, basically, what to look forward to in the future, and when they publish the results, obviously they are anonymous, so you can be totally honest in what your environment is like, and what you're looking forward to. So please fill it in if you get time, and I think they even give away something for free. You get like a Amazon gift card voucher for free random community participants. So oh, and the Dutch dropper waffle as well. So definitely sign up for that one. So this week we've had Ignite on. There wasn't really very much Windows Virtual Desktop announcements because I think with WVD there's sort of evolving so fast, the announcements kind of come along a bit at a time rather than kind of all at once. So the only big announcement for WVD was the fact that the Azure monitor for WVD, that's going GA in a few weeks. That's been in private preview for I think 2 months now or something. So that's going to be GA. So if you've been using that, it's a pretty good resource to check into the insights of what's happening within your WVD deployment. So give that a look if you're not using it already. We've got an exam date for the WVD certification exam, so that will be released on the 29th of March. So you want to get signed up for that on the 29th of March. I checked today and you couldn't actually register for it yet, so I'm not sure whether that date is actually the date that you meant to register it from. I'm not sure when registrations are going to start, but that's something to look forward to. There's a few study guides which are starting to pop up. There's my own, shameful plug. I need to update all the links on that, but that gives you an outline of the exam and what the sort of target topics are. Also, the Azure Academy videos, they're a really good resource. That's Dean from the Azure Academy. He's pretty much releasing 2 or 3 videos a week where he's sort of picking each of the topics and doing a video on his. Now, I don't think you realise how much time he spends doing that as well as his full job. So I've got huge respect for that guy because I think each video probably takes him around 2 hours, I'd say. So he must be putting in at least, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours worth of effort each week just to do that. So really great of him to do that because it's totally free. He doesn't get paid for it or anything. So huge kudos to him for that. We've also got a few study guides from Charbel Namon and Thomas Miura as well, which are basically just the same things, just exam outlines with the topics and link to the topics on there as well. The other bit of news is the MSX app attach, which is still in public preview, but previously you had to apply to have it, and someone would manually enable it in the background for you. That's now available to everyone. Again, it doesn't mean it's out in GA, it's just in public preview. So you can now go and play with it to your heart's content. So that's good progress there, because that's going to get quite a lot of focus this year, I would say. It's going to be one of the things which is going to keep on getting better and better and better. So this is something which a lot of people have been waiting for. We now have metadata storage locations in Europe. So if you're not aware, the metadata location is essentially where all your WVD configs are kept. I think they sit on one big database. So when you connect into the environment, it's basically referencing all this metadata to see what hostboard configurations you have, what applications you have assigned, stuff like that. So previously, this was only available in the US. It's now available in Europe and will be expanded to more a later date. This is important because a lot of companies, especially in the financial sector, depend on this for sort of auditing and stuff and compliance. So if you have any data at all about your company is held outside of the region that you're based in, it normally causes quite a few problems. So this means that all companies who are based in Europe who need those compliance, they can essentially just have all that data contained within that Azure region, which is good for security as well. Also at night, there was announced a new feature which will be trusted launch for Azure VMs. So this looks really, really cool. So if any of you ever worked on a sort of large enterprise environment which need quite good security, one of the things which you always do is enable secure boot on a TPM chip. So enabling secure boot enables you to basically protect your operating system. It stops people from injecting DLLs into your OS and stuff and other nice security features. So this used to only be available for physical machines because it relied on stuff that you had to enable in the BIOS of the machine. This is now available for Azure VMs, which also means it's now fully supported on Windows Virtual Desktop as well. So this is going to be, again, a really good security feature for people out there. So there's a really good blog which Marco Molli has written. He's based in Italy, and he show you how to enable that on your WVD and set up credential guard as well. So really, really good if you need security in your environment. So definitely check this out. And also, Microsoft have released their Azure Firewall Premium into public preview. One of the really good features of this for a Windows Virtual Desktop environment is you can now do web filtering. That's one of the part of the features. So you don't have to rely on any kind of third-party product anymore to do that filtering for you. Obviously, there is a bit of extra cost to that. So if you're going to look at it, obviously compare the cost compared to what you're using at the moment. But that's it's really good because I know a lot of people prefer to go Microsoft native if they can. Obviously, you get full support and stuff for that as well. So really good feature. And we also have a update for the Windows Virtual Desktop client. So this one seems to contain quite a lot of Teams fixes, which is good because I know Teams has always been a bit of a problem on Windows Virtual Desktop, especially when you attending multiple conference calls. So Microsoft have fixed quite a lot of the issues in here, but the also a good thing which they've done as well, they've enabled hardware acceleration for the Teams client on Windows Virtual Desktop. So if you've got a machine which has got a GPU enabled, that means you're going to get a better experience and even lower CPU usage. So definitely check that out if you're a heavy Teams user or you're currently experiencing problems on Teams. I mean, the client should update itself automatically as well if you've got that turned on, but if you deploy your clients in any other way, you can just update them by the usual methods. Also, another new thing which was announced was in-place upgrades are now supported on Windows Virtual Desktop. So previously this was not supported. You had to redeploy your desktops. You can now do in-place upgrades. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it. I know a lot of places, a lot of companies prefer to do clean machine rollouts just due to in-place upgrades have sometimes been a bit dodgy. So as per usual, test it in your environment first, but it's there and available to you if you want to use it now. So that's quite good. And there's a bit of you need to make sure that you don't use Azure disk encryption or ephemeral disks. Otherwise, if you do use those, then you'll have to go down the usual route of rebuilding your desktops. And another announcement is AppCure Studio 1.5 is now GA. So if you'd never used AppCure before, it's a pretty cool product where you can basically it's made for making your journey to MSIX app attach a bit easier. It enables you to sort of capture MSI files and create SIMFS files and all that kind of stuff. So if you are into your application migrations, or if you need to migrate to MSIX app attach and you're having problems, definitely have a look at AppCure. It's one of those pretty cool tools. And also we have Nerdio Manager for WVD 2.8. It's been released. I'm not going to go through every single update. There are a lot of them. I think it's like 15 updates in total. But the main focus has been on the MSIX app attach stuff, the Azure monitor, and also making your connection to the Azure files easier as well. We've got alerting and notification, SMB multi-channel, new scripted actions, lots of good stuff. So definitely check that out if you're a Nerdio user, as per usual, because every month we release about on average 12 to 15 updates, so constantly evolving, updating, which is good to see. And that is it from me. Does anybody have any questions or Q&A? Nope. Okay, good. Right, Baz, the stage is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you, man. Good evening, everybody. Let me start with sharing my screen as well. See how that goes. Can you see it? All clear? Good to go? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, it's not in. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right. So next step. Okay, good evening, everybody. Before I forget, Kirk, congratulations on your MVP award. I almost forgot when we started out 25 minutes ago. Awesome achievement. Thanks again, guys, for having me on the show. And tonight, this evening, this session, I'd like to take a bit of a different approach. It's still going to be about Nerdio, of course, about Nerdio Manager for WVD. And you'll still see some of the major modules come by. Like normally we talk about auto scaling. We do an extensive demo, image management, user management sessions, and all those types of things, which again, you will still see come by. Though I'd like to focus a bit more on some of the more, I wouldn't say hidden features, but normally the features we don't talk about that much, we don't show that much when we do, demos, presentations, and so on and so forth. So I found a couple. There are a lot more to dive into, to have a talk about, perhaps afterwards or whatever the case may be. But hopefully you'll find this of use, or at least fun to have a look. So the demo, that would be the agenda for this evening, of course. I have my contact details for you as well. I'm able to share those with you through chat or, through the presentation when we share the slide deck after the presentation. Use my email address. Let's connect up on the socials, Strava even, if you're an active runner or a biker or whatever the case may be. Always like to see what other people are up to as well. We even have sort of a private group. So if you're in IT and active, come and join. I should pop that up next time as well. That might be a good idea. I'm the field CTO for the EMEA region for Nerdio. I started back in May, June last year, and basically responsible for day-to-day operations, you could say. So I'm involved with a lot of stuff, wearing a lot of hats, from marketing to sales to doing presentations, demos, all sorts of things. Now, of course, I've got my new colleague in the UK, Neil, which I'm talking to on a daily basis, of course. So we're going to give the community around Nerdio another big boost in the coming year and the years after, hopefully as well. So that's also a lot of fun to work on. So manager for WVD. And again, let me pop up the interface. So I won't do a traditional presentation, if you will, like I've done a couple of times already. I think I've done that a couple of months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, within the UK WVD user group as well. So it will be sort of similar in some ways. And by the way, I will also be able to show you a couple of things as part of the latest 2.8 release that Neil highlighted at the end of his presentation also. So normally when I start out, I'd like to start out under settings. Also when I do a demo with customers, for example, because it's basically the base that the rest of Manager for WVD is built on top of, meaning everything that you can do and set and configure, remove, reconfigure, and so on and so forth under settings is also used by host pools that you're going to build, configurations on your host pool machines and those types of things, unless you reconfigure those on a per host pool level. So that's where I would like to start this evening as well. And I'll probably hop back and forth, through this menu and then over to workspaces into an existing host pool to show you a couple of things. And that will happen like 5-6 times or something like that. So this will take me probably like 30-35 minutes. I think it might be a good idea to, if you have any questions, to probably leave them in the chat. Maybe Neil will be able to answer a couple. And otherwise, I will have time, of course, after the presentation as well, because I don't think I'm able to stay until the end of tonight's meeting, just so you know. So normally I start out here, like this evening as well. So this you could call this normal. I would talk about, the tenants. It's split tenant. You can always have one tenant for identity purposes, authorization, authentication, those types of things. Though now I'd like to focus a bit more on the things you see here, for example. So if you have any users that are not synchronized up to Active Directory, you might want to disable that feature, as in that you are not able to see those users as well. So that means if you assign users to desktops, to host pools, to published applications, those type of things, you will only see all of the synchronized users. And of course, we have all of these icons built in all over the place, as you'll see going forward as well, which will tell you exactly what all of those features are, where you can go to for additional information. Often they have links, URLs inside them as well for additional info and so on and so forth. And this one is sort of interesting as well, because if you, and now I'm going to hop over to Workspace, which of course holds your host pools, which can be configured separately, as you can see. Because if you create a new host pool, that's what I wanted to mention, you need to do a couple of things, choose the desktop experience, those types of things, but you would also need to select a VM size. And this would be all of the VM sizes available within your region, and the same applies to all of the OS disks that go with the various VM sizes as well. As you probably know, different VM sizes come with different OS disk sizes, so it's not always the same thing, including ephemeral OS disks, by the way, those are also supported. And these are APIs in the background doing their work. So Manager for WVD is built on top of APIs, mostly anyway. But the thing is, it might happen that you know of new machines being added to your Azure region, for example, and you might not be able to find those. Now, what will happen is normally this will synchronize with what's happening on the Azure platform every 24 hours. But if you would like to do a refresh, so you know something new has been released, you cannot find it, you can also force the refresh. So that's another, little gem built in that might be able to help you here and there. As you can see near the bottom, we also support availability sets. Though availability zones, that's also something that we support, might be of a bit more interest. And again, you would need to hop over to Workspaces, select one of your existing host pools. This time we do need the menu, not like a couple of minutes ago. Properties, you would go over to VM deployment. And there's a bunch of stuff, as you can see, going on here. Lots of automation, scripted actions, as you can see, that can be applied on a host pool basis, per host pool basis. But I'll get into scripted actions and a couple of those gems a bit later on. And here you can see availability zones as well. So all you have to do is click, and we've had this built in for like 5 or 6 months or so, something like that, together with the availability sets as well. So pretty handy to be able to configure that on a per host pool basis like this. Let me hop back over to the Azure environment and settings, and then a Nerdio environment. A couple of things I want to highlight here. So some of this you will only use together with support, for example. If you have logged a ticket, you have an issue, then support might ask you to do a couple of things in here within the settings of Manager for WVD. Though these are a couple of things you can manage yourself as well. And again, click the icons, you will know exactly what it is, what it means. So configure the default local administrative account that will be created on all provisioned VMs through Manager for WVD. So that's in here, that's centrally managed, if you will. And those types of things can also be changed and managed when you add in a VM, for example, which you would like to use as a template for creating future host pools. Those types of things when you upload or import, I should say, existing images from the marketplace, those types of things. It's all configurable per image as well. So you can diverge from the default, so to speak. Like I mentioned, everything under settings you should think of as being the default configuration for Manager for WVD. This is probably known by a couple of you already who've seen previous presentations. You are able to change the licensing mechanism on the fly. You can do this as many times as you would like, though this will then kick in the next month. So if I change it now from per concurrent to named user, that means that the new licensing model will be applied in this specific case in April. And then in May, your licenses will be invoiced over the month of April, because that's how we work. Always invoice afterwards and only for those licenses that are consumed or are consumed. Email notifications. So this has been added just over a week ago. You can link your mailbox, and this works together with notifications, which of course is also new. So you can be notified about just anything that might happen within your WVD environment. As you can see, it's easy to add new conditions, for example. You can edit existing ones as well. And like I mentioned, you are able to filter on just about anything you can think of with regards to tenants' workspaces, available host pools, and those types of things. You can filter on tasks, a bit much that Manager for WVD can do for you, but you might have some specific ones, as you can see down here as well, by the way. Or fine-tune it further by getting notified by user, or perhaps even better by status, as you can see here as well. And these are a bit more specific, as you can see. So just know that that's in there as well. Let me see, we've also added the Azure Runbook scripted actions. That's part of scripted actions. That's also something new, so that would be part of scripted actions over here, but I'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. And we are now also able to run scripted actions outside of your traditional virtual machines as part of your host pools, meaning we can now also create Azure objects, Azure resources based on scripted actions, and those run on runbooks underneath. So that's why this has been built in also. But again, we'll get to that in a bit more detail. So a couple of integrations, a couple of new things here as well. So Neil mentioned that we are now able, as part of version 2.8.0 and newer, link existing Azure files. So if you have an existing Azure files deployment configuration already, all you need to do is add in the storage account. Let me select one. And a file share that might be residing on there, and that's basically it. So you don't have to create the Azure files or the Azure NetApp files, for that matter, through Manager for WVD to be able to manage them from within Manager for WVD. Just so you know. Various monitoring options. I'll spend 1 or 2 minutes on Sepago when we get to the monitoring tab. I'm going to work myself upwards, so to speak. And this is the monitoring solution, so the workbook that Microsoft released, which is now in public preview, but pretty easy to link. As you can see here, it's a step-by-step process for you. First, you would need to select or create a log analytics workspace. But once it is enabled, it's pretty easy to add in host pools you would like to have monitored by this workbook, and so on and so forth. So pretty basic wizard that you can go over in just 1 or 2 minutes. And then once you enable this monitoring solution or Sepago or both, then is when the monitoring tab will pop up, by the way. So when you do a default installation of Manager for WVD, you won't see a monitoring tab, and that's because you won't have any monitoring solutions from within Manager for WVD enabled. But when you do, it will pop up, and this will then be Azure Insights. So the workbook in the background, basically announced at Ignite a couple of days ago, though it was pre-announced as far as I know already. Go over to workbooks. Here we have one, for example. Not much happening in this demo environment, of course, so I won't be able to show you a lot of things. Date range change might help, or perhaps querying another host pool, perhaps. but I'm not sure by heart which host pools had been added. I just showed you, but I forgot already. Anyway, this is the basic monitoring solution that Microsoft has now released in public preview, so you will be able to play around with that as well. And as you can see, pretty straightforward to set up. Of course, we have a REST API. I'm not going to talk about that. Documentation is available, and so on and so forth. This is all clickable links, of course, which will take you to the documentation to get you started. So updates, this is a good one as well. So we will always put the latest update on top. And we will only show the latest 3 because it will be quite easy just to click more. This will take you to the release notes. You will know exactly what has been released. So this would be the screenshot that Neil just showed us as well of version 2.8. And normally, let's say a week, sometimes 2 weeks before we release a new version, we are now currently working on 2.8.1, I believe. Yes, so this environment is also used for development purposes, Q&A, and those types of things. So again, 1 or 2 weeks before we would release that version, you would see this release notes page being updated as well, including all of the new features coming up in that new release. So a week from then or 2 weeks from then, whatever the case may be. That fluctuates a bit depending on how busy we all are. And also the same goes for adding in the demo videos or the URLs to additional information, KB articles, and those types of things on the Microsoft website, on our own Zendesk page, which, by the way, the release notes are part of as well. So normally this would be done after a release has been released. So to GA, I mean. So you can just click then deploy. It will not touch your underlying WVD infrastructure, meaning it will only update the native the native Azure application, it being manager for WVD. So the app service basically is being updated. It will take 3 to 7 minutes, depending a bit on how big the update is. Normally it ranges from 100 to 150 megabytes, something like that. But it's non-disruptive. So the only thing that doesn't work is, for example, auto-scaling throughout those 3 to 7 minutes, or anything else that needs to happen automated, like a monitoring action or something like that within Manager for WVD. But again, it won't touch your underlying users, your hosts, and so on and so forth. And you are also able to download the installer, as you can see here in the .zip format, so you can run it through PowerShell, kick it off manually, or whatever you would like to do. And of course, we enable you to skip one or multiple versions. But like always, if you need to get into touch with support, we will of course ask you which version you are running, and probably, if it's an older one, ask you to do an update and upgrade. So everything that happens within Manager for WVD is saved for at least 30 days. And as you can see, everything is audited in detail. You will be able to filter on just about any task that Manager for WVD is able to do for you, as you can see, just as with the, the notifications. We saw this list as well. So for example, with adding in a host, if it's an automated task or if it's a task that's executed automatically, but started manually, for example, by a user, you will see who that user was together with the email address, everything that happens along the way, each step basically. And we also enable you to download various logs directly from the underlying VM for troubleshooting purposes, for example, as you can see here. And that's a feature that's being or getting more advanced as we go along. So 30 days by default. This would be a what's the word? A log analytics workspace. Sorry about that. In the background, and of course you don't have to worry about setting that up, configuring that. That will be done for you when you set up Manager for WVD from the Azure portal. However, since it's a native Azure technology, you would still be able to go onto the Azure platform outside of Manager for WVD, look up that work analytics workspace, and change it from 30 to 50 days or 100 days or whatever you would like. So just know that that's being used under the covers and that you are able to partly reconfigure that as well. We have users and roles. We have multiple role-based access. I think I highlighted this during the previous presentation as well. But if any user within Manager for WVD has a personal assigned desktop assigned, together with the end user role as part of a role-based access that we have, then he or she will
I think we've lost Bas. Is he going to unmute?
He's not on the list. Oh, he's back on the list.
Let's see.
I was muted. I saw. I didn't do it myself, but somebody perhaps accidentally, or it was just the Teams. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So until what did you hear? So did we? Did you?
Yeah, I think you were on the. You just talked about this, the end user.
Right. Okay. So any user with a personal assigned desktop within Manager for WVD, together with the end user role assigned, will be able to start, stop, and restart their own assigned desktops within Manager for WVD. And that's then the only thing they will be able to see as well, by the way. So it's not that they will be able to see the rest of the configuration or anything like that. And if those users are also part of, for example, a hosted shared desktop host pool, they will be able to see those sessions as well. And then they will be able to log off their own sessions. So that can be used in conjunction, together with, of course, the Autoscale engines that we have for hosted shared environments and personal assigned desktops as well. So I mentioned Sepago as well as being one of the monitoring solutions. So this we've had for almost a year ago. It's the strategical partnership that we have with the German company Sepago and their specific Azure monitoring solution, which is also able to drill a bit more down into the operating system, certain applications, GPU usage, and those types of things. So it has additional advantages over, for example, monitoring insights in some ways. And you will be able to add as many dashboards as you would like. We have a couple of 5 to 10 minute videos. I think we have 8 or 9 telling you exactly what it is that you can configure, how you can drill into those dashboards, making it very detailed, very fine-grained. And it's not limited to 3. You can add basically as many as you would like. You can have 5, 10, 15, just one. That's also fine. And once you have it enabled and you have those labels, basically those dashboards configured on the underlying platform, because that's how the monitoring solution works. You need to set up a couple of things on the underlying Azure platform before being able to leverage it from within Manager for WVD. You will be able to add in those dashboards like this. Then give it a name and copy over the URL that you need from the Azure portal, basically with configuring the service. Just so you know, these 3 will be made for you by default. They will be basic, of course. Those are also reconfigurable, but you can also remove them, add new ones, and so on and so forth. So scripted actions. We can do a couple of pretty cool things here. I always mention we try to hide the complexity as much as possible. But of course, if you know your thing around PowerShell, it can also add a lot of flexibility. What is complex to some might be very handy and flexible to others, of course. So we're not all the same. So this enables you to, first of all, of course, leverage the existing scripted actions that we made for you. As you can see, we have multiple and many more will be added going forward as well. You can add in your own scripted actions. As you can see, give it a name, a couple of other things, tagging right away as well. That's pretty handy. But you can also view existing ones and then, for example, make a clone. So you can reuse the code or alter, adjust the code, which is pretty handy because we've had these optimization scripts built in for a while now, also before we had scripted actions. But then one of the comments was, well, okay, if I would like to apply that to my image, to my VM, or on top of or over all of my machines as part of a host pool, for example, because that's something that you can do, and I'll show you that, then how do I make alterations? Because I do not want to apply all of those optimizations, but because some of those applications or automated tasks or whatever the case may be, or scheduled tasks, I believe, are in there as well. I want to, hang on to. I don't want to delete everything, and so on and so forth. So this would be the way to do it. You would do view, clone, and it's extremely easy now to do edits. You will see exactly what it is that you are editing, first of all. And of course, we will tell you what to do and how to do it, and what the result will be. Together with, all of the services to remove the applications. A bit of JSON is involved, of course. So if you do not know what you're doing, probably be a bit careful, though this is pretty monkey proof, right? You don't have to have any knowledge basically of JSON or PowerShell to be able to edit this script, save it, and give it a try on a test image, for example. So as you can see, pretty easy to adjust. And then, of course, the Azure Runbook, so code running outside of your Azure VMs. We support the Azure RM model, the Ezeep PowerShell modules. Doesn't really matter. Both work for scripted actions. And these would enable you to build certain resources in your Azure environment itself, so outside of your VMs. So it's a pretty cool addition also. So a couple of notes on MSI X App Attach. I won't go over all of them. Neil, by the way, is working on a pretty cool presentation as well, which will hold in a couple of weeks' time under the Nerdio Tech Insider flag. So we will have an announcement coming up around that as well. But just so you know, we can work with, of course, existing MSI X App Attach images, and all of the various formats are supported, by the way. So that was part of the latest 2.8.0 release as well. A couple of major enhancements. So this would be the way to upload those together with any certificates you might have or might want to use. However, we also enable you to migrate over or transform existing MSI X packages into the app attach format. As you can see here, we will use something in the background, of course, fully automated, but you can still see what it is that is being used. And of course, you can change it also. So just so you know that that's in there also pretty easy to get started testing app attach, basically. I know it's not working for every application still, but you know, it's getting better and better, and it's getting a real big push by Microsoft as well, which is also important because it enables, or not enables, but it makes a lot of more companies globally have a look, try it out, get more feedback to Microsoft, enhance the product step by step by step, sort of a snowball effect, you could say. And we enable you to upload and work with your certificates like this as well. A couple of more steps involved, but I'll leave it at this for now. And you will see these certificates come by once or twice when we go forward in the next couple of minutes as well. So let me hop over to images. Let me first take a sip of water, if that's okay. And if it's not, then too bad, I've already did it. So let's continue. Now we have multiple options to work with images to start with. So multiple ways to import existing VMs, for example, or existing images as part of your underlying Azure infrastructure. So let me show you that as well, by the way. And we can import the standard images. We can work with the Azure custom images, the shared image gallery, and those types of things. You don't have to import images into Manager for WVD to be able to work with them. But of course, it does help to be able to manage it all from the same interface and so on and so forth. And as you can see, we offer a lot of additional, well, these you might call a couple of gems, which aren't discussed that many. A couple of things it enables you to do, apply scripted actions, which we just had a look at, for example, when importing an image to make it, production ready, for example, those types of things. Your own custom PowerShell code can be added here as well, and a couple of other things. So this would be how you would upload an existing image. However, we also enable you to upload existing Azure VMs that you might have created for this purpose, or that you might have been using for a couple of weeks or months already. Sort of the same fields, the same options down here as well. As you can see, we can instantly clean up the image for you and install certificates. That's what I just mentioned. You will see these come by once or twice already. So this would be where we had a look at just about a minute ago. The certificates as part of your MSI X App Attach packages. So multiple things you can do. Now, when doing image management within Manager for WVD, two things are sort of important, and that's what you use on the native Azure platform as well. So you would need to create an image object, and you would need to have a VM where that image object is created of, basically. So on the Azure portal, you would also have a VM. You can, create an image. It would shut down the VM. It would make a copy or clone the disk. Attach it to a new VM, and so on and so forth, do all of the sealing, sysprepping, and all of those steps. And that's basically what we are doing for you as part of Manager for WVD as well. We do all of that for you in the background every time you select set off and power off and set as image, or when you do that manually. So the idea would be if you import an Azure VM or import an existing image like I just showed you, it will create the VM for you. It will be shut down, as you can see here as well. You can then power it on. And for example, first make a backup for 1 or multiple weeks. And the only thing you need to worry about here is the retention period, because if that expires, it will only throw away the backup itself, and it will leave the original image alone. So basically, you don't have to worry about that part. And then once the machine has been powered on, you can use its name or its IP address to RDP into it, for example. And all of these machine links are clickable, so it will take you to the underlying Azure portal directly, instantly. So you can do an RDP session, for example, if that's something that you would like to do, but you can connect up to that machine any way you would like. It doesn't have to be the traditional RDS if that's not something you would like to do. And one thing I wanted to point out is this part. So you can select it to not create an image object, meaning you leave the VM, the image open basically, so it's not ready to be applied to an existing host pool or to be used to build new host pools. No, you are still able to make changes. And it also tells you that if you select that, you would need to use the power off and set as image button to trigger that whole process of, you know, the cloning, the sealing, the sysprepping, but everything of that will happen in the background, of course. So if you would do that, then that process will of course kick off, and then the image will be ready within 5 to 10 minutes to be used to build out new host pools or you know, update existing ones. However, that's also something that you can start manually. So set as image, and this is also something that you can schedule, which enables you to do a couple of things. But let me start at the top. So first of all, you can apply scripted actions here as well, you know, on your image to, you know, do the optimization a bit, like we just talked about, to install a couple of applications, those types of things. So that's something you can do together with, of course, custom PowerShell code. And this is a neat one as well. You can pass on the AD credentials that are configured under settings, integrations, and then Active Directory. So let me hop over to that to show you, just so you know what I'm talking about. Integrations, and then the Active Directory in this case. Well, you saw that you can select the various domains as well. And then this is what will be used, what will be passed on to execute that script, if that's something you might need. Let me get back to my image, set as image. So just so you know, that would be under here. And as you can see, like I mentioned, you are able to select different domains. And by the way, as part of having multiple domains, you're probably aware, but I'm going to mention it anyway. You can have a single Azure AD Connect set up to Azure Active Directory to do the synchronization. But if it's various domains part of the same forest trees, then you will be able technically as well, supported by Microsoft, to synchronize multiple domains up to Azure Active Directory as well. And that, of course, then enables you to work with different Active Directories per host pool. At least that's what we enable you to do within Manager for WVD, for example. Now this setting it as an image can be scheduled as well, and I'll get back to this in just a minute. And if you are working with a Azure Marketplace image, you can also tell it to update it with the latest version. Just select the one you are working with. Perhaps you would like to join it to the domain like this, and then you'll be good to go. And here you can see a couple of other things. So this again would be install certificates as of your MSIX app attach packages. You can make a backup first before doing anything with this further. And you can also leave the VM running. And by the way, you can also make it part of your shared image gallery and then select to which and how many Azure regions you would like to have it replicated, for example. So that's in there as well. And this is a nice one, because if you combine this with this schedule, so again, this means you will set it as an image. So everything that's been done to the image will then be sealed, sysprepped, and all those steps, again, just to make sure we're all on the same page. And you can automate that part. So let's say you would like to do that weekly, every, let's say, Saturday, and let's put it on a Saturday then here as well. Start out Saturday, repeat weekly every Saturday at, let's say, 2 a.m. at night. Now what this does, this leaves the machine running even though after it has been set as an image. So that means that then you will have an image that is ready to be deployed on existing host pool, so do a re-image operation, for example, but you are also still able to update that image. And if you then configure that together with the schedule, you might be able to have a third-party application which will automatically or perhaps manually update your image every, let's say, Thursday or Friday. Then automatically this will be done or turned into an image, so the sealing, sysprepping, and so on and so forth, every Saturday at 2 a.m. at night. You will leave the VM running because this is then so configured like this, so you can repeat it weekly. You would then be able to hop over to an existing workspace. This time click Hosts, Resize, Reimage, And then you would be able to select that same image here, choose what you would like to do with regards to how many machines updating at the same time. If it's a bigger host pool, let's say 25, how many things are allowed to fail. And then this can all be scheduled as well and also be repeated. So if we repeat this also weekly, but then let's say on a Sunday, let's say also 2 a.m. So this is how you can set up a tiny automation street basically within Manager for WVD using these graphical user interfaces and the automation taking place in the background. So now we would have an external application updating our images weekly, turn it into and sysprepping, turning into an image on a weekly basis, automated, and then apply to a validation host pool, for example. That might be a good example. So you can test on Monday the new security updates or whatever type of application you might be working with. I almost hear that weekly, companies dealing with applications that need to be updated on a weekly or bi-weekly or sometimes even multiple times per week basis. By the way, if you click OK and the re-imaging of those machines takes place, we do not touch the underlying VMNIC resource, meaning DNS won't change, IP address will stay the same, computer names, objects, and will not be touched, and so on and so forth. And we are also able to reuse any host names that you might have given machines. But of course, the OS disk will change as part of this process. Right, so that would be images. Tenants, I think I mentioned this as well, but we have had this migration part. So migrating from the older version of WVD to the newer version of WVD from non-ARM to ARM. We've had this built in for I think it's getting close to 10 months or something like that. So you will be able to migrate anything you already have, change its name over to which destination workspace. If you have multiple, choose what you would like to do with user assignments. So think of this as being the metadata of your host pool basically will be done within a couple of seconds. And we also enable you to migrate over the underlying VMs of those host pools. So again, same wizard as you've seen a couple of times before. This can be scheduled as well, how many machines at the same time. Users will be notified. I forgot to mention that as part of the re-image process, but if it runs into any machines with active sessions, users will be notified, and of course then 10 minutes after, or 15 or 30, whatever the case may be, whatever you would like to configure. After that, in this case, the migration will take place, and of course in the case of resizing, re-imaging, the resizing or re-imaging will take place. So let me see, hop over to workspaces again, because with regards to resizing and re-imaging, if you would like to apply that, but without to host pools, but without applying the image, so just a reboot schedule basically for a hosted shared environment, for example, this would be exactly the same thing, but without reapplying the image the whole time. So just a simple reboot of one or multiple machines in SQL, basically. Let me see what else. So let me hop over into an existing one. These are a couple of things we don't normally talk about. So you can run a command directly on a VM. So I'm now on the lowest level, so within a host pool on one of the virtual machines. And again, you can run scripted actions on a per VM level as well. Apply your code, pass the credentials, force a restart, all those types of things. And again, select the domain with regards to credentials. As well. You can, of course, power it off and power it on. And here you also have the ability, just as with in the details where we enable you to download those logs, here you can select, you can select them all or just the ones that you might need. So again, these will be downloaded from the underlying virtual machine in a .zip format. And if you would like to delete it, you would still first need to type in confirm. And you can also choose what to do with regards to unjoining it from the domain. So that will be done for you. But again, you can also choose in certain situations that you might not want to unjoin the underlying VM, for example. So that's an option you also have. And being able to reuse VM names, I need to, I'll tell you a bit more about that perhaps, but you are able to select do not reuse the host name. So it will be thrown out of the database, and then all of the machines built by Manager for WVD won't use that same name of that machine that you are throwing away. But let me elaborate a bit more on that, because as part of our auto scale configuration, and I'm not going to go over all of this, of course, now. That's what we normally do. Just know this will start machines, stop machines, create machines. So build from scratch, completely remove monitor machines, auto heal machines, inform users, and all those types of things. It will constantly monitor what's going on in the host pool and take appropriate action. But here you can also see it will reuse your host names, or it's able to reuse host names. So if it's building the host pool based on this configuration, it will make sure that all of your machines get a unique name. And then if later on new machines are built by the autoscale engine and added to the pool for additional performance to take care of user demand that might have increased, and later on those machines are thrown away, and perhaps 1 or 2 days later, a week, a month later, a couple of hours later, those machines are needed again, they will be able to reuse the same names. They will reuse the same computer objects underneath, the same GUIDs, and so on and so forth. So that's something you don't have to worry about. But again, you can disable this as well if you would like. By the way, as part of this host pool, we can tell the autoscale engine that it's not allowed to shut down machines or scale in, so completely remove machines between certain times, for example, as you can see here. So that's good to know, and that helps. And we combine that with other detailed configuration options, of course, that you saw on the page as well, but it's too much to go over now. Just know that if you would like, you can also on a per VM level say, I do not want this machine to be scaled in. I do not want this machine to be shut down. And then select this one or this one, and then say, for example, or configure, do this for a week and then stop it. Then it's part of the pool configuration again. So that's also an option that you have. And by the way, bulk actions. So do everything at the same time if you have 5, 10, 20, 30 machines. So perhaps you would like to delete them all. That's even more cautious because you would need to type in capital letters, confirming deletion of all session hosts. And if you make a typo, it will stay grayed out. So it's pretty safe in that respect, I think. It's pretty monkey proof. One last thing. So workspaces, I think we saw it come by as part of the news as well. Creating a workspace, give it a name, description, resource group to deploy this workspace into. Of course, this is just an empty container holding then your host pools and then the machines in your host pools, but we've added the North and West Europe locations for the metadata as well. So you can work with that as of, I think, as of this last Monday or something like that. Right, so let me hop over back to my presentation. That's sort of what I wanted to share with you guys. Not sure if there are any questions. I will have a look in a minute, of course. We have a meetup page as well. It's going really well. We have a very fun, Tech Insider program going on. I've seen some of you joining already. Some even on a monthly basis. So thank you for that. We have a couple of very fun sessions coming up as well. It's not just about Nerdio. It will always have a bit of Nerdio automation involved. But last time we spoke about ephemeral OS disks, for example, how they work, what they are, how you can use them, a short demo within the Azure portal, those types of things. And then finally, the last 5 to 10 minutes were spent on an autoscale demo to show how the autoscale engine can also work with ephemeral OS disks. So 80% was non-Nerdio, 20% was Nerdio. So that's normally how we would do that. And of course, a Slack channel for you guys to join as well, ask questions, those types of things, or help others, of course. So questions, I will have a look in just a minute, of course. And thanks very much for for listening to what I have to say today. And thank you guys for having me on the show again. Let me hop over back to where is it? Teams. No, oh, I have it here. It's on the top.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Bas. We
sure
have a few questions. So we had one, Rachel. Can you guys hear me in echo?
No, I hear you fine.
Okay. We've got a question from Rachel Berry asking if there's any version control within the scripted actions. So we don't have those, do we? So.
Right. Sorry, what was the question? I didn't hear you.
It's do we have version control within the scripted actions?
Oh, right. Okay. No, we do not have that. I believe no. But that's a good idea, by the way. Thanks for that.
Definitely. And there's another suggestion from Ryan as well around the certificate files. Do we support PFX files? Which I don't believe we do. So again, that's another suggestion that we can take forward.
Yes,
Ryan.
Definitely. Thanks for that as well. Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming around MSIX Epitech going forward. So we know, of course, sort of the roadmap from Microsoft. We have well, it's not bi-weekly anymore, but we have a lot of, talks with them as well from a development perspective. So that's all being worked on behind the scenes, you could say. Pretty amazing.
And there's a question around what's the difference between Nerdio Manager compared to ControlUp?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a huge difference. So I think you could say that ControlUp is mainly monitoring of all types of things, of course. It goes way beyond just WVD. Has been around for years. Love it. Could be a great addition to Manager for WVD. And they have, of course, their scripted actions to do some management around WVD. But that's the only thing they have around management for WVD, if I'm not mistaken, or something might have changed already. But they do not have the graphical user interface like we have, specifically focused on everything that you can do around WVD, the native services surrounding WVD, like FS Logics, like Azure Files, like, all of the AD integration stuff, host pool management, and you name it. And mainly what they do around management is through scripted actions. I think Esther Bartel is working with them, and Guy, of course, and a couple of the other guys from the community as well. So they complement each other. That's a way to put it, I think. We have actually had a couple of talks behind the scenes with those guys as well. I've spoken to Yanni, their CTO, a couple of times. They've spoken to Vadim, the owner and founder of Nerdio. So there's a pretty good relationship between us going on as well. So who knows what might happen in the future.
Yeah, I think a pretty good idea, maybe community submitted scripted actions, for people out there who've done some pretty cool things using those scripted actions, to maybe share those out to sort of help others. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, scripted actions, it's just code, so we can add them in easily. Probably some of the programmers or scripted guys will have a look, make a few slight or tiny adjustments with regards to how we offer the code. And then if they are fine with it, that's and of course the community folks handing out scripts as well. That would be a great idea, great addition.
Yep. And Andrew's asked the link for the URL for the insider for Nerdio, so we can.
Okay. I'll when I go quiet in just a minute, I'll or somebody else perhaps, but I'll make sure to put it in the chat.
I'll do that, Bas, so you can get back to your family.
Awesome, man. Thanks. Anything else? So did I show anything that you didn't know of already, Neil?
No, I think I knew pretty much all those things, but good, very good talk, interesting.
Great.
Okay, so if anyone got any more questions for Bas?
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the show. I love printing. It's one of my favorite topics next to WVD. Did a lot of presentations on that topic in the past as well. So have fun. Good combination. Printing, WVD, community. What can go wrong? I'll open up a beer and stick around for a couple of minutes and then indeed hop over to my family. Okay. Talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Hi, Scott. Are you there?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so now we've got Scott Seddon, who's going to tell you all about printing on WVD. So it's all yours, Scott.
Thank you. So hopefully everyone can see my screen.
Yep, we can.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me on, Neil. Congratulations, Kirk, also. I know how difficult the MVP is. So I congratulate you both on your MVP status. Well done. So just a little bit about Ezeep and printing in Windows Virtual Desktop. I just start off with a little bit of the agenda. So I'm going to quickly run through the agenda, what I would like to do today. I'm conscious of time, I won't overrun. A little bit about myself and a background. We'll also cover off our ThinPrint, our company. Then we cover off this Ezeep storyline. Then we're going to focus a little bit on the architecture and what's involved to actually print in WVD using our Ezeep Blue Cloud print platform. Then I'll cover off our Ezeep Hub, which is really designed for serverless offices. And then we'll have a quick demo and then we'll go into some upcoming features and pricing. So a little bit about me. I'm quite new to the community. However, I've been in IT for quite a long time. 1997, out of university, I started working in the Corp Bank in Manchester. So there might be a few people online today who I know actually through Manchester links, working in Miller Street and CIS Tower. Started off at help desk, second line, third line support. Back then I had quite a mixed skill set in software and hardware. Doing server builds, racking servers, building chassis, blade technology, etc. And then I moved on to understanding, and really something that interested me was the hypervisors and understanding Hyper-V, and now difference between hosted machines and virtual machines. Everything that we all know now is pretty much our bread and butter. Then in 2008, I moved on to project delivery, primarily virtualization projects. Typically, it was Citrix environments and Horizon View environments. And then in 2013, up to present date, I'm a ThinPrint consultant, which opened up a lot more doors for me, doing more architectural design, consultancy, and some account management, of course, amongst a whole other skill sets as well, which I'm really enjoying. Away from my desk, I have a really supporting family. So very quickly, I've got a family of 4 kids, amazing, inspiring woman behind me as well, who's fighting on the front line during this pandemic in intensive care. So she really puts everything into perspective for me when I feel like I'm having a bad day. Outside of the office as well, I manage a semi-professional football team, voluntary work. It's now in my 10th year, and I've known many of these boys since they were 7 years of age. And charity, I'm very passionate about charity work, especially motor neurone disease. Currently, I've committed to doing the 7 and 7 challenge, so I'm running 77 miles every month for 7 months on the trot. So I'm really spreading awareness and just trying to get as much funds raised as possible for this disease. And then finally, MVP, work in progress. Like I said, I'm just starting on this journey, and I'm under no illusions of how difficult this is. So I applaud every single MVP online here today, and I know it's not easy. So, you know, I welcome any tips as well. I know Neil's very helpful. I'll be speaking to a lot of other people. I'm just starting that journey. Yeah, I blog on scottseddon.com, Twitter handle there, Scott Seddon 96, and my LinkedIn as well, plus other social medias. You'll find me if you just Google me. So enough about me. Ezeep and ThinPrint. So you may hear ThinPrint, you may hear Ezeep at shows at, like Microsoft Ignite, of course, VMworld, Citrix Synergy. You'll see blue Ezeep stands, you might see orange ThinPrint stands. And this is the first thing I'd really like to clear up. Ezeep Blue, this is our cloud printing product. ThinPrint is the company name, and it bears the name of our flagship on-premise print solution, which is called ThinPrint Engine. ThinPrint Engine is 21 years old now. We've been market leaders for our on-premise solution, really positioned for traditional RDS environments such as the ones I've named before, Citrix, Horizon View, RDSH, etc. We have numerous print patents, and we have headquarters across the globe. So we have a promise as well. So our promise is really simple. We promise to fully master all printing challenges for you now and in the future. So a little bit about Ezeep. So Ezeep's our cloud print solution. That's the product that I must speak to you today about regarding Windows Virtual Desktop. So we purchased Ezeep back in 2015, which was basically a really good product, but really positioned for co-working space, print redirection, but real bagged with tons of potential. And it was a perfect fit for our vision at the time, and for us to develop into the product that it is today. Easy printing, our name's our mission. So we really like this. We like the name Ezeep, so we introduced Ezeep as it was into our portfolio. Since 2015, we've developed Ezeep into a complete enterprise cloud print solution that it is today. So, and we'll go into that in a little bit later with the demo. And we found it really easy to move our on-premise knowledge, that 21 years that I mentioned earlier, into the cloud, as well as build really cool cloud printing specific features that we'll go into later. And this is really where EFA was born. So EFA is Ezeep for Azure. So back in 2018, we set up a partnership with Microsoft, something that we're very proud of. And our combined partnership goal was to build a print solution for Windows Virtual Desktop in time for Microsoft's WVD launch date. And in 2019, you may have been fortunate to be there. I was with the company. We was very proud to be included in that launch at MS Ignite Tour in Amsterdam. Very exciting time for everybody in the WVD community. And we didn't stop just there neither, actually. In 2020, we develop and constantly Ezeep, and this is where Ezeep Blue was born. And Ezeep Blue is the product that I'm going to talk to you about today. I've skipped a slide then, sorry. So yeah, we like to see it as printing as a service for Windows Virtual Desktop. So at ThinPrint, I'm just going to go through this quick. What we've done is we've really picked up the entire printing process and we've moved it straight into the cloud. So really benefits organizations no longer having to worry about printer drivers, printer rendering and print reporting, operating systems, which operating system am I using? Windows 10, of course, will be brought up quite a lot today. And what's our end user device as well? All these problems. So this is a very, very basic diagram. I've put this up on purpose because really, from left to right, a user wants to send a print to the cloud and expects the cloud to do all its magic. And then the user collects their print job and the printer, they're happy, the end user's happy. But we all know it's not that simple. Triggers lots of questions when printing via the cloud. Questions need these answers. Who maps my printer to me? Who creates my printer queue? Who assigns the correct print driver to that print queue? Who hosts the print driver pool in the cloud? Where and how does the print data get rendered in the cloud if we haven't got any central print servers? How is that print data sent back to me with no site-to-site VPN? I'm only using internet access. Who encrypts my print data? Who looks after the HA side? And who cares what device I'm using as well, the endpoint, and who cares for what operating system I'm using? All these things are just assumed will just work in the cloud. These are manual tasks normally when creating printer queues on a central print server on-prem. So the answer is Ezeep Blue. So in a nutshell, this is a very simple diagram again. We have right in the center, we have our Ezeep dashboard accessible from your browser. This is your admin's go-to place. This is where your admin, will create all your printer mappings, and we'll go into the dashboard as part of the demo. On the top left-hand corner is our Windows Virtual Desktop stack. You can see in the top left corner, I've labeled Ezeep Print App. So the Ezeep Print App, this is installed on your WVD image. This feeds your user identity into the cloud and consequently receives all your printer mappings that we set in the dashboard. On the bottom, we have a variety of flavors of Ezeep connector. So the Ezeep connector also has a couple of roles. The main role for the Ezeep connector is to register the printers into the actual cloud. So when we do get to the dashboard, the administrators have the user identity information from the Ezeep Print app, and they also have the printer information. With these two pieces of information, we can start bridging them together and doing printer mappings. And also the encryption and decryption, the decryption and decompressing of the print data that comes out of the cloud to the endpoints is the role of the connector as well. So a little bit about, the protocol here. So all connections are inbound only to the Ezeep Blue cloud. So no connections to the print apps or connectors are required, just outbound connection. And the only protocol we're using end to end is HTTPS, so WebSockets. A little bit on the Ezeep connector. So we have a Ezeep hub, which you may have seen. I will demonstrate this very soon in a moment. But if you really treat this as a local print server at your remote site, so think of a headquarters, a hub or a branch office. They have a serverless office. They have multiple printers. Maybe small office might have half a dozen printers. A large office might have hundreds of printers. So this really is replacing those servers. It's acting as a local print server. It has automatic printer detection on it, so we can scan the printers in automatically on the subnets. There's no limit on how many printers this our hub can have and register to the cloud. It connects the printers to that Ezeep cloud instantly. It has the built-in Ezeep connector, so as I mentioned, for the decryption and decompression of print data that's actually coming out of your cloud. Micro appliance with one Ethernet port and 4 USB ports, so we can actually attach USB port printers as well. And yeah, the price, I think that's a very reasonable price, €890 per month. So let me get straight into the demo. I think it's important that we have a little look at the product. Enough of PowerPoint. This is what we're going to be looking at. So I'll just flick across to my demo. Just confirm that pops through. Okay, so everyone still see my screen? Yep. So this is the Ezeep hub front end UI. So by default, I mentioned it as a RJ45 cable plugged into the switch. It'll pick up a DHCP address, and what we do is we'll go onto the IP address and we'll just authenticate and log in. This particular hub that I'm working on now is actually in my home office where I'm sat right now, and I've configured this particular hub already to connect to one printer that I have in my office. So to add the printer, I automatically scanned it in, but using this find printers option. So if you go to the find printers option, it'll just scan the local area network and it'll pick up any printers. I've already scanned my printer in and added it into here. If you do want to manually add printers in, you can, of course. It's okay for small remote offices, but if you do come across the big ones, you really will want to use the find printers option. If I discard that and just go back to the printers, once I've got the printer information listed here, the next thing for me to do is actually register these printers actually to the cloud. So how I go about doing that is in the network tab. In the network tab, we have a Cloud Connect. So what we do here is we connect using our Azure Active Directory credentials. So you must have Azure admin Active Directory credentials to do this. So as part of the enrollment for your Azure platform through Marketplace, you will use a Azure admin credentials, and it's these credentials that you'll be using here to also register the connector, in this case the Ezeep hub, to the cloud. And all will become a little bit more clear when I actually show you the dashboard, which I'm going to move on to next. So ezeep.com, log into Ezeep Blue. So you see, actually, yeah, you'll notice here that, whilst I'm going to be obviously demonstrating Microsoft Azure Active Directory logons, you can see here that I've got Google and Apple as well. So we're not just strictly WVD, but we'll obviously focus on WVD here. So I click on the Microsoft. This is my admin account in Azure AD. And here's my dashboard. So the dashboard, we go by default, it goes to a quick start guide. It gives you a little bit of an overview of the three main components. So the three main components are really the components that I spoke about in this screen here. The print app in the top left corner, the connector in the bottom corner, and the dashboard that's in the middle. You can see in this diagram the connector. And the bottom right, I've got the Ezeep hub. I've also got the connector next to that also, which is a Windows executable that we've run and installed on a print server. So if you do have a actual server at your remote office with hundreds of print queues already on it, we can actually install our software on a Windows print server, and we can then register the printer queues to the cloud as well and make them Ezeep Blue cloud ready printers as well, which is quite cool. And then in the bottom left corner, we can obviously, for smaller organizations, smaller companies, we can install the Windows software on a Windows desktop itself, a laptop. We also have Mac connectors as well for Mac, for any Mac users. But I'll just go back and just show you where they are. So when you're presented with the dashboard, you can click Get Connector, and these are those flavors that I was speaking about just a moment ago. We can download the connector for Windows. If I click on the hub, it'll just take us to the hub page where we can register for loaning a hub for a trial purpose. But I'll just go back. You can see I mentioned the Mac OS and the Windows for local printing. And then the center part is the dashboard where we are today, right now. And then the print app. So the print app is where we will be is what we will be installing on the Windows virtual desktop machines. Again, the Ezeep Print app comes in other flavors. We have the Microsoft Windows, which you'll be using for WVD. We have a Chrome extension actually that we can install into Chrome, and we have the Apple iOS, and in the Google Play Store we have an Android app as well. So we're not just strictly WVD, but I just thought I'd show you them. But let's just jump into the users now, and also the network printers. As you can see on the left hand side, we've done this on purpose. We try to make it as simple as possible, so you can easily navigate around. On the left hand side, there doesn't appear to be very much, but yet what you can do with Ezeep is everything that we expect from a cloud print solution. We looked at the Ezeep hub, so I'd like to go straight to network printers and show you where that Ezeep hub is and how it registers and what it actually looks like. So in network printers, we have a list of all the printers that are available now for our organization. I can filter it on connectors. So if I click on connectors, you can see that we have a couple of connectors in this organization as well. You have my Ezeep hub, which is the hub that I have at home, which if I flick to the hub, go to network, you can see Ezeep hub. This is the host name of my hub. If I go back, you can click on show connected printers, and this will show me what printers are actually available on this particular hub. So you can see the HP 4500 printer, not a fancy printer, it's just a printer I've got at home. It's not cloud enabled or internet enabled, it's just a plain cheap printer bought out of Comet a few years ago. If I go back to my Ezeep hub, you can see where that information has actually come from. You can see it there. This is the printer name. I'll add some printers in a little bit further on in the demo as well and show you just how easy we can register new printers from the hub into the cloud as well. So this is my printer. If I select on the printer, you can actually see who it's assigned to. So I've assigned this particular printer to a group called Scott's Office. So if I go up to the user groups and select on groups, here you can see a list of all the groups that are available. These are groups that I've imported in from Azure Active Directory, and also some groups that I've created manually as well, locally, just for my organization. And that's reflected in the source column here. So you can see that I have a Scott's Office, which is an Ezeep group. And you can also see there's a couple of Azure groups. So if I wanted to click on Add Group, I have the option to import a group from Azure Active Directory, or I have the option to create a group. If I click on Import from Azure Active Directory, you'll see that these are actual Active Directory groups that are present in Azure. If I flick onto my Azure portal, which you'll be very familiar with, you can see that these are my groups that are in my organization in Azure. So there's one here, EBC Denver. If I flick back to here, I'll look for EBC Denver. It would have to be the very bottom one. So you can see that we're pulling through all the Azure Active Directory groups in here as well. So we can nest users into these groups and apply printer mappings to these groups as well. If I go to users, so if I click on my user account and I go here, this is me. This is what I'm logged on with. You can see I'm a member of this group, and you can see that I am got this actual printer as well, this one single printer. We also have actually probably a good time now to show you how that actually looks. So if I jump onto me web client, again, everyone will be very familiar with this, and I launch my virtual desktop. And I just open up Notepad, say, as an example, or indeed maybe even Word. I just select anything. If I go to print, standard Control and P, you'll see that my HPMV printer is actually readily available for me now. If I was to send a print job to that, of course, if you're thinking about the traffic, we would send the print data out of the WVD machine over WebSockets to the cloud. The cloud would do the rendering of the print data, and it would send a print ready file back to the Ezeep connector, which is in my case the Ezeep hub. The Ezeep connector would receive the print job, and it would then send it to the actual printed device, which it's attached to locally in the LAN. I will just show you one more feature actually as well. I think what I mentioned earlier about adding a additional print queue as well, so you can see how the print queues are actually mapped into session as well. So if I add this is going to be a dummy printer, so this would be HP test. I'll assign the same one there. The IP address, it doesn't exist. I'll use this one, and I'll save that. So in a typical busy environment, you would see all your like half a dozen, 200 print queues. You'd scan them all in. You'd have one different row for each Ezeep hub print queue. So I've got just 2 here at my remote office. But as you can see, you could add, you know, the amount of numbers is limitless. If I go back to my cloud and I go to network printers and I have a look at my connector. In fact, actually, you could see that it come through already, but I was going to filter it out on connectors. If I go to my Ezeep hub and show connected printers, earlier we only had 1, and now we've got 2. If I go to HP test and go to assignments, you can see it's not assigned. Of course, it's not, because I've just created it. If I look at my HP Envy, it's assigned to Scott's office. So I'll assign that actual printer queue to my Scott's office queue. I could, of course, assign this to any group, any Active Directory group, but I'm going to just assign it there. So this is where we're doing the printer mapping. This is where we're saying this printer group map to these printer queues. One thing actually will be really good to show people now as well, actually, would be the driver management as well. We spoke a little bit about cloud rendering. We spoke a little bit about the driver management as well, but I've not really showed you exactly where that all happens. So, like I say, you know, we've been around for 21 years now. So, you know, we've got partnerships with all the vendors, Xerox, HP, the big ones, Brother, etc., Konica Minolta. The list is endless. We've built a real large driver pool. We're confident we've captured most drivers. However, if there's any particular drivers that you can't find in our cloud, then we give you a facility to send the driver to us. We'll obviously put that through UAT, make sure that it's fine, and we'll publish it to the public cloud and make it available for everybody in our driver pool. So how do you actually go about doing that? Well, once a printer is visible, which has been actually reported by your connector, such as my new HP test printer, I can go here to the right hand side and you can see that I can select driver. If I click on the more, I've got a list of all the manufacturers. I can filter this out. I don't mind which one it is. Click on Xerox. Here I've got a list of Xerox. You can see I've got 252 here highlighted. I'll just pick on this one because it's the earliest one and just select driver. So now I've actually assigned a driver to that actual printer queue. So think about the overheads of having to do that on an on-premise print solution with a central print server. We're actually doing all that for you using our cloud. And then if we don't have the print driver for you, as I mentioned, you can request a new driver. So all that's really behind that link is just a mail to hyperlink. So that'll open up your default mail application, and it will send an email to ezeep.com. You attach your driver, or you query what driver is, and we'll go and find that for you. And then we'll approximately 4 days to test the driver and upload it to our cloud. And we'll have that available for you. We'll reply to you and tell you that the driver is now available in the pool in the cloud, and then you'll be able to assign that print driver to the actual cloud. From the cloud to the actual print queue. So if I just close that down, if I go back to my machine. I would have expected it to be there, but I know why it hasn't, because we have a feature, which is a really good feature actually, called self-service. So what self-service is, if I go to settings here, I'll just discard that change. I've enabled self-service before I came onto this call. So self-service is actually it's a UI which gives the user the option to select their print queue. It really gives them the feeling that they're in control. But really, what we've done is in the background, as I've just showed you, we've applied a little bit of logic behind what printers are being assigned to what users. But then we're giving the customer or the end user the ability to be able to actually go and select that. So if I go back to my virtual desktop and I type in self-service, which is here. This is the UI. So this is really just querying now the print queues that are actually present and mapped into session. So you can see this is the print queue that we set up at the very beginning. And if I click on add printers, there's my HP test print queue. So if I now select that print queue and click apply, I've now made that available. Now, when we clicked add printers, it was the only printer queue that was visible to the end user. And that's because of that printer mappings that I've just done just earlier, where I've specified this print queue is only available to the Scott Office printer group. So if I press close now, and I go into here, and if I can skip that. There's my print queue. Now, if I go to print to that print queue, we know it's not going to work because when I set up my hub for this printer queue, I give it an IP address that doesn't exist, or sorry, it does exist, but there's nothing at the end of that IP address. So if I was to send a print test page out of there, that would go to the destination through the cloud and down to the Ezeep connector. Yes, so that's really a very high level look at our solution. Is there anything else I need to show you? Mainly user groups. Like I say, we're trying our best to make it as easy and simple as possible, which is, I hope you agree that it's like a really simple process, a 1, 2, 3 process. We have the print app, we have the Ezeep hub, which is our connector, and we have our dashboard. And really, that is what we're trying our best to do to make it as simple as possible. Any questions on the demo, or is there anything that you'd like to see, or is there any questions in there?
Yeah, there are some questions in there, Scott.
Okay, Neil.
Are you ready for them?
I hope so.
So Harry says, can you models and printers talk directly to your PaaS service, or does everything go through the connector? Yeah, so everything does go through the connector. So we are working on the connector being embedded inside the actual printer devices directly. We are working on that in beta at the moment on one particular manufacturer. So it really makes the printer a Ezeep blue ready printer, so it doesn't have to rely on the connector through the hub. Brian's asked, is it possible to connect printers based on the location of the end user, or is this something you would configure outside of Ezeep? No, so when I created the mappings just a moment ago, in them mappings we could create a location group, and we could nest the users. So using the example of Manchester, Manchester Balloon Street, we could create a group called Manchester Balloon Street. We could nest the Manchester users into that group, and then we could, when that user group logged on, it would, the mappings that we've specified would be the Manchester print queues only. So it would be the Manchester actual connector. So if you appreciate the Ezeep hub and the role that it's actually doing, we'd have an Ezeep hub at the Manchester site, that connector, we would group those print queues,
and we would say this Active Directory global group for Manchester mapped to the printer group for Manchester printers. So that gives us location-based printer mapping. So yes, that was the long answer, but yes.
Cool. And Eero has asked, so what if a customer has outside? So what if a customer has outside consultants which are from different companies? Can this service be used with those consultants' printing needs? If a customer can't install anything at those, if the customers can't install anything at those outside companies' infra. That makes sense.
Yeah, so we have I'll just flip back to it. We have an invite button actually. If I just go back to my demo here. So in users, we have an add user button. So if I click add users, I can add a user, just an invite. So I've got a mail at Scott Seddon. I can just return that and send an invite to my mailbox. As soon as I get that mailbox invite, I can then accept that invite, and then I'll be then uploaded into the organization. So what this is really demonstrating is that identity piece. So I focus this this demo around WVD, of course I do, but I think one of the takeaways from this as well is it's not just WVD as well. So that end user that you're describing could download the app onto their Android device. Once they've accepted the invite, they could log on with their mail at scottseddon.com account, whatever the invite account was, and then they would we could then in the background map those printer queues to the invited user, and then they'd be able to use your organization for printing needs, whether it's a temporary need or whether it's more of a long-term thing.
Okay, cool. And Andrew asks, do you have a comparison for Ezeep versus alternative thin print providers, unique selling point, etc.?
Thin print competitors, maybe.
Providers, yeah, competitors, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think straight away, nobody's doing what we're doing. Nobody's doing the cloud rendering, like what we're doing. The driver management that we're doing actually in the cloud. A lot of the if we want to say so-called competitors, won't name the people who maybe people are thinking about, but they're using a lot of like PDF, generating a PDF, sending a PDF to the actual workstation, and having the agent installed on the workstation, rather than having a more of a centralized print management cloud solution like what we have, sending it directly over the wide area network over WebSockets to an Ezeep hub, as an example. So it's a difficult one for me to accept when I say competitors, because I don't really see them as competitors, because that's the reason why I started off at the beginning saying Microsoft partnership. They approached us back in 2018 and asked us to provide a Windows Virtual Desktop print solution for WVD launch, which is what we done. We worked under NDA with them, and very proud moment for us. Like I say, in March 2019 at Amsterdam, when the big announcement was, where all this community's drove from, which is cool.
Awesome. So Nushtali's got quite a few questions. I don't know, do you want to cover these questions off now, or do you want to provide your email details so we can?
Yeah, so yeah, for sure. I was just going to wrap up with if there's no more questions, I can just jump back to my slides. There's only like 3 or 4 more slides, and at the bottom, more my email address and details are there.
Yeah.
So just a little bit on upcoming features. Q2, follow me printing. We're working on that. It's imminent. Q3, we've got an Ezeep hub home. So this is really targeting the Ezeep hub just for those home users, rather than just focusing always on enterprises and corporate. And then Universal Print Connector by Ezeep. The GA is imminent. I'm really excited about this. Our integration with Microsoft Universal Print, that maybe the person who asked the question earlier was alluding to as a competitor. It's absolutely not anything but that. It's an integration. So we have a universal print connector, which really is the Ezeep hub, integrates with Microsoft Universal Print, and it enables those printers to be universal print ready printers. The automatic printer detection that I mentioned earlier, where we can plug this in, set a static IP address, scan all the printers that aren't ready. Think about the cost effectiveness of that. People turning just standard printers like I have myself into universal print ready printers just by using our universal print connector by Ezeep. And of course, it's upgradable. You can upgrade the universal print connector to our Ezeep Blue platform as well. And getting started is really easy. It's registered via Azure Marketplace through that URL. I've gone through how we read the current printers into the Ezeep cloud through the cloud connector, and assign the printers, which we've gone through in the demo. You assign the printers to those printers, and then the user's ready to print. Very small little bit about pricing. The more you purchase, the cheaper it is. So it starts off translated around €2.50 per user per month. The more you purchase, the obviously the cheaper that becomes. A little bit more on the Azure Marketplace, you can see all those different models. And yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity, Neil and Kirk, for being able to come on board and show you what we do at ThinPrint with our Ezeep Blue platform. If you need to contact me, there's the email address. I'd really like the email and help many people in this print cloud infrastructure. Twitter, feel free to link in on me on Twitter and LinkedIn. And I do a little bit of blogging. Like I said, I'm starting my MVP, and I really want to be in that place where Neil and Kirk are at some point. So any helpful pointers, Neil, Kirk, and anyone else, please reach out to me. So like I say, I'm right at the very beginning of this journey. So thank you. Printing in WVD, easy peasy.
Nice, Andy. Yeah, thanks very much, and that's a great presentation. Lots of questions and Q&A interaction, which is what we like. This is why we do this. So thanks so much, Scott. And around the MVP stuff, if you want to set up a separate session with myself and Kirk, we'd be happy to provide as much information as you want around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Right. Does anyone have any other questions for Scott, or want to have a chat about anything else before we call it a night?
I think, Neil, probably the only thing from both of us really is just a call to action for the group of, if you've got anything that you'd love us to cover, if you've got a problem that you think, I'd love to have some of the community to help me out with, or just, when Google takes you so far, Bing takes you so far, right? So just let us know. We're all ears. We're for the community, and yeah, very, very happy to be helping out.
Yeah, I mean, what I want is more sort of real world scenario type issues. So next month we've got Linda Karen Wolfrat from Liquid, who's going to be telling you about their sort of application delivery method. And we've got someone called Jordi van Drunen, who works for a consultancy company in Amsterdam, in Holland. Well, not sure if Amsterdam, but in Holland. He's going to be doing a user session on software packages and image management using Azure DevOps for WVD, which sounds quite interesting. And they're the sort of more type of sessions that I want to see. So if you...
Is anyone, Neil, I wonder if, is anyone actually studying for the new WVD exam? Maybe we should do something around that.
That is a really good idea.
So anyone, just quick show of hands, just type yes or +1 or anything in the chat if you'd be interested in something covering the certs.
Yeah, so maybe we could do a kind of group study session or something where you go through.
Boom. Okay, that sounds good. All right.
Okay. Yeah, that's an awesome idea, Kirk. Let's do that.
That's what I'm here for. Brilliant.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That's been brilliant.
Yep. All right. Cheers, guys. We're going to call it a night. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you in April, or maybe early if we arrange another session, study session or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's sleep on that.
We'll see.
Thanks, Neil.
All right. Cheers, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
Thanks for that.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Ta.